What I'm about to show you in this video is going to be the difference between a beginner and an intermediate kickboxer, all right? A lot of coaches don't tell you this because you have to cover the basics first, but I think it's very important early on to teach this method so that you can actually 10x your improvement when it comes to your kickboxing journey. And I'm gonna show you that next on this video. All right, guys, my name's Chris. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Sicat Kickboxing Club. First and foremost, if you haven't subscribed yet and you're liking these videos, please subscribe, like this video, and comment down below. Let me know what you think of these videos. I always like to get feedback and what you want to see next. And yeah, thank you for watching. And also, I run a martial arts podcast. It's called the Speakeasy podcast. I'll click the show links down below. I have high-level fighters to practitioners to hobbyists talking about just martial arts, kickboxing, and you could get a lot of value out of that just like these videos. And also, join my email list. It's chrissicat.com. I'm trying to build a strong kickboxing community and provide more value as I do these videos. So yeah, let's get started. There's a few things I want to talk about, like as far as martial arts. So I'll talk about jiu-jitsu first, because usually in jiu-jitsu, and I know this is a kickboxing channel, but I just wanted to make a point that in jiu-jitsu, a lot of people or a lot of like instructors I notice, because I've been to different gyms, they don't show you like the underhook, right? The basic underhook to where you have to get leverage on someone. So I'm not gonna go into it too deep, but then that concept alone, they don't teach you that a few months down the line, where I think they should be teaching you that in the beginning. So the reason why I say that is that it relates to this video, as far as most coaches and most, I guess you could say, training partners that are experienced don't really teach this to the beginners, but I think it's very, very important for beginners to learn this in the beginning of their journey so they're one step ahead. Yes, you do have to cover the basics with like a jab or a cross, you know, move your hip, teep, and all that, but that's gonna come with your training anyway. So I think it's good to know, like little by little, without overwhelming yourself, to know more of the advanced intermediate moves, so you have it in your tool belt so that you know what to expect later on the line, depending on what you want to do with kickboxing. Even if you're a hobbyist, these tools are very, very important. And especially if you're using it for self-defense, it's very, very important. Or if you compete, okay? So the most important tool in intermediate, and then I'll have like a video series of this between like beginners and intermediate, but this one aspect that I want to talk about is called the feint, or you can call it, a lot of people get confused with that word, but just call it a fake or a make them freeze kind of move, okay? So what I mean by that is that when you make them quote unquote freeze, is that you're literally making them freeze. Like, you ever notice, like in high school, right? When you're playing around with your friends, you know, boys are gonna be boys. And I used to do this with my friends, where you'd kind of quote unquote punk them. Like, you're playing around, but you'd punk them. You know, you'd go like that. You kind of like make them flinch, is like what you're really doing, right? Like, just to kind of scare them a little bit, or you're just playing around. But then when you do that, when you say do this reaction, and then your friend will be like, they'll kind of back up, the natural human reaction to do it if you're not trained to do it. And the thing about that is that, yeah, it's a training within itself. You have to be able to be trained to not flinch, right? Like, I've talked about it in my other videos, to where you have to learn to kind of get hit in the face so that you don't have that deer in the headlights reaction. But that's a whole different scenario. When I'm doing these feints, right? What's really happening, I'll talk about the biology first, is that what's happening is that it's affecting your nervous system. The reason why you want to do these feints, so I talked about like the high school feint like this, but in fighting, like, I'm gonna just do a basic jab feint, okay? So in fighting, you want to do this, okay? Like that, right? Not actually throw the jab, but you want to just fake it, like you're gonna throw them, like you're gonna hit them, right? So, like that, right? You're moving all the extremities in your body because you wanna make it realistic, like you're gonna hit him with a jab. Now, with that fake, what's gonna happen is that when you try, or not try, but then when you go for that move and then you hit them with a jab, they freeze up because they actually think you're gonna hit them. And that's my whole point of this video, is that when they freeze up, you have those 1 or 2 or 3 seconds for them to go back into like their normal stage, right? And even at that, they're like kind of freaking out because they're in this like weird scenario to where they think you're gonna hit them, but you know, you're just kind of making them flinch. So a lot of intermediate fighters use this, right? Just for a basic example, to make the guy literally freeze and make him a human punching bag, right? Because if you're doing this, right? If you're freezing up like that, then you're not like reacting. You're literally, your nervous system is actually in fight or flight now. So you're going, and you're stiff, and then you know, you just can't react. You're not thinking because you're what's happening is that your forebrain shut down because you're in fight or flight. So you're like, right? So you want to be the guy to fake and feint. And the other thing is that you want to do it with purpose. So what I mean by doing it with purpose is that if you're gonna feint, right? If you're gonna throw, you want to follow up with something after that, because initially why you're faking that move or faking that jab is that you want to follow up. You're trying to trick them, right? You're trying to trick them, whether you want them to freeze up so that you can open up and just, you know, go to town on them, or you want to make them react up top and then hit them to the body or something, right? Because now they're going to be blocking this way. They're going to be blocking up top this way. And now you're open to the foot because they're planted, and then they're thinking about like getting hit in the face. So now I can go for like, if I feint, look, they're gonna react right over here, and then I can go for like a leg kick, right? So that's one of the reasons to use a feint. And that's actually the most important reason, honestly, to use a feint, is to make them freeze and make them literally turn into a human punching bag. The other aspect that people don't think about when they start doing kickboxing, obviously they're just beginning, but again, I want to show you this so that you have something to think about way ahead. So you're one step ahead of the game, okay? The other thing is that when you're the one faking these shots, right? When you're making them react, this is counterintuitive, but you're moving, but they're the ones actually getting tired. So I explained that in like the nervous system, when you freeze up, that actually like messes with your body, right? Because you're in fight or flight, now it disrupts your breathing. So if I fake someone, like I'm gonna hit them and they flinch, they actually stop breathing, and then it just, their adrenaline goes up, their epinephrine goes up, so that they're like, oh. So they're not breathing. So what that does is that they actually get more tired. They get more tired when you make them freeze like that. They're like, oh, oh. And picture this, if you keep doing that, right? If you say, you could jab, you throw the 2 feint, or you'll throw like a fake kick, and then they keep freezing up like that, well, guess what? They are getting tired. And not only that, when you're hitting them, right, as they freeze up like a human punching bag, as I would say, that's getting them more tired because now they're actually on the defensive. They're not on offense anymore because they're worried about getting hit, or they're worried about where the attack is coming from. So again, to be able to do this move is so important. This move is so important, along with distance, timing, range, and the other stuff that I'm gonna talk about in other videos. This is one of them. Feinting is like one of the keys to be successful in the upper levels and even in self-defense scenarios, right? Because if you guys just have two guys swinging at it, right? Swinging at each other, then it's a 50-50. Like, I don't want a 50-50, I want the odds to be in my favor. So the more tools I have in my tool belt, and this is, again, one of the more important ones, well, the more I'm gonna win because the odds are in my favor. So again, I'll show you how to feint, all right? Right here, what you wanna do with the feint is that, so get in your stance, hands up like always. So you want to exaggerate it as much as you can. Yes, you can throw shorter feints like this, but then it's not gonna have much of a reaction, especially if you're facing, say, a guy that's trained for months or maybe for years. He's not gonna fall for that, so you have to make it believable. So what I mean is that when you're throwing feints, boom, you have to really over-exaggerate like your movement, okay? So exaggerate your movement. You see that? Look at like all my body. Like I'm really going for the shot, but I'm not, okay? Right? Look at my hips, look at all my body. You could feint the knees, you could feint the elbow, right? But you see what I'm doing here? That will make people flinch because you're literally going in for an attack, but you're not, right? You're holding it back, you're pulling it back. That's thinking one step ahead, because if I make them react, again, if they put their hands up, well, guess what's open? Their body, right? Maybe their legs, right? Now I'm thinking far ahead into the game instead of just, you know, your basic 1-2s. And I gotta tell you, basics are everything, okay? Basics are everything. They're about 95% of what you do, like the jab cross. If you know how to do a proper jab cross, proper low kick, a proper roundhouse kick, it'll take you like 95% of the way. But when you start getting into the intermediate stages, now you really have to be tricky with your opponent. And I mean, think about if you have those tools against an unexperienced person, I mean, you could literally probably do whatever you want with them, being that you have all those things in your toolbox. And again, I'm gonna talk about other advanced intermediate as we go along, as far as distance, range, and timing, and just having a good base, which is very basic, but a lot of people don't think about that. A lot of beginners, and especially intermediate, honestly. I mean, I'm still seeing, including myself. I mean, I'm not an exception to the rule that you know, you'll kind of revert to like old habits, but you got to be aware of that and then fix those. So, right, like if I'm doing feints, I have to remember that I have to over-exaggerate the feint to actually fake them out, to make it more realistic. So that's like a basic concept that what you want to start thinking about. But anyways, guys, thank you again. Please subscribe, like this video if you're getting value out of it. Share it to anyone of your friends that want to learn self-defense aspect of it and just basic kickboxing, which is pretty much self-defense, right? And also check out the podcast, the Speakeasy podcast. I'll click the show links down below. Check out my website, chrissicat.com. Join the email list. Again, I'm trying to build a great kickboxing community to where eventually I can answer your questions, get feedback, and comment down below in what videos you want to see, and give me some feedback on what you thought of this video, and some just kickboxing talk. All right, I'll see you on the next one.